All right, we're back again. We're going to go a lot in a very short period of time into dispensationalism's hypocrisy. And we're going to get into things like what exactly is the sixth dispensation. And then we all know that we talk about all the time about the seventh dispensation, according to them, the 7-year dispensationalists, and what it actually means, and where it is found and how it ripples out into the Christian community and all that sort of thing, because most people don't know. All they know is the dopamine levels that they get from soon, with the rapture aspect of inherently found in the core beliefs of dispensationalism per se. So let's get into a definition, just so that we have a starting point. And you can look this up anywhere you go on the internet. You can look it up real easy. It's called What is the Church Age and Dispensationalism? And here we go. Here's the definition per se. The Church Age, or the dispensation of grace. And this is a key tickler point for the dispensationalists. That's why so many of them believe in what you call the OSAS, once saved, always saved. That's why they're so keen on grace only. But they don't understand where the rest of the hierarchy of the salvation comes forth, how it becomes applicable to them, because they're leaving themselves as a result out of the salvational picture. The church age, or the dispensation of grace, is the sixth dispensation on dispensationalism, spanning from Pentecost, Acts 2. So let's kind of frame that. What they are saying with this is that everything up to Acts chapter 2, that the Holy Writ, in other words, that Scripture is talking exclusively to the hexagram, six-pointed star people. That's what they believe. So if you take what it says, when the Lord told Nicodemus that he must be born again, according to dispensationalism, that the Lord was only speaking to Jews. Thus, by default, they have no salvation, speaking of the dispensationalists, because their age of grace didn't start until chapter 2 of dispensationalism. So everything before that, the Lord was speaking specifically to the six-pointed hexagram people. Let's repeat that. The church age, let's repeat this again, one more time. The church age, or the dispensation of grace, interchangeable, they're saying. The church age, or the dispensation of grace, is the sixth dispensation in dispensationalism, spanning from Pentecost, Acts 2, until the rapture. This is their own definition, by their own accord, by their own parameter. It is viewed as a parenthesis, here we go again with Daniel's 70th week, in God's prophetic timeline. Well, here it is, speaking of which, separating the 69th and 70th weeks of Daniel, where God works through the church rather than the nation of Israel. There we have it. Again, you can look this up. Just punch in, what is the church age and dispensationalism, right there. What is the church age and dispensationalism? So by their own ramifications, they're not even saved. Which brings, in a roundabout way, offhandedly, they don't understand, but they're giving credence to the fact, because we as remnant, the few of us as remnant Christians, always will point out that Christ was telling Nicodemus, albeit the fact that Nicodemus was a Jew, and Christ had not yet gone to the cross, that he as Israel, as a representative of the Sanhedrin, scribes, Pharisees, Sadducees, and all that, must be born again. But to the dispensationalists, oh no, it doesn't, the church or the age of grace doesn't begin until chapter 2 of Acts. So you people aren't even born again. What is wrong with you people? What is wrong with you people? Because I can guarantee you that the vast majority of you 7-year dispensational pre-trib rapture people don't even know what you believe. You don't. You patently don't know what you believe. Sad to say. Speechless. This is what you've done to yourselves. And I can guarantee you, the few of us can guarantee you, that when you go and you strike this conversation up with one of your pastors, chances are they won't know how to answer you. And you want to know why? Because they can't. They'll try to coerce some kind of explanation out of it. But look for their disingenuousness, because you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't have both sides of the equation. This is what happens when you get into these dispensations, because you have different dispensations for all these things. But what you did wrong was you cut it off in Acts chapter 2, not realizing the stupidity of doing that. And that is why we as remnant Christians will readily point out that Christ was talking to Nicodemus as a Jew. Yeah. And Christ is the whole Godhead, the whole Godhood of Christ is preached all throughout the Bible. It doesn't make any difference whether it's the Old Testament or the Old Covenant or the New Testament or the New Covenant, written in his own blood. You can go to John, the latter chapters of John, for a elucidation of that, for an explanation of that. But it was Christ that went to the cross, and he bridged that gap between the physical, or the physicality, and the spirit with a seamless robe. And that's why you should be getting into a position to be supernaturally chosen, blessed, and favored as born again Israel and or as a spiritual Jew, where Christ is your Sabbath, and you have all of the blessings that carry on over from Genesis 12:3. Remember those blessings? Where God told Abraham, it's called the Abrahamic covenant, that all those who bless you will be blessed, all those who curse you will be cursed. When Christ told the Sanhedrin that their house is left unto them desolate, in Matthew 23:38, right before the vaunted Matthew chapter 24, that's exactly what Christ was talking about. That construct of the physicality of that church, or synagogue as they were called, that construct went away. That ship sailed. It's never coming back. It's kind of like a word picture of the Straits of Hormuz. That ship ain't coming back. Why can't you people understand these things? You report the few of us. People like Rappy constantly change the goalposts. And it never fails. It never fails. Because if they can't win the argument, because all scripture is given by inspiration of God for all people and all epochs or epochs or time frames. Period. That's all we got for now. If you're remnant, stay remnant. Please help get this word out there. Even if it's just you facing what's left of humanity. Help get this word out there. Do your best. I know you will. I know you will. I love you guys. Don't stop. You're doing a great job. We'll talk soon.